this entire time he's like, I'm making all these plans, but Kenobi.
You know? I am ready.
All right.
Okay.
Welcome back to Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches. I'm Noah.
And I'm Richard.
And today, something that we haven't done yet. A character breakdown. A sole video dedicated to a character breakdown.
I know the character that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I got done prepping for this, I had completely forgotten what the angle was that we're doing today. Today we are going to talk about Darth Maul / Maul, and a fantastic villain in the Star Wars continuity, and
one that was redeemed so well.
Was completely wasted in episode
Completely
1.
wasted in episode 1. And that's what I mean by redeemed. No, obviously, he didn't have a redemption arc. But the character itself was redeemed because of Clone Wars.
Well, his character didn't have a redemption arc, but I tell you what, he became one of the more interesting characters in the Star Wars universe.
100%.
So we've commented in other movies that Hollywood has a habit of killing off
characters way too soon,
and not giving them a chance to develop.
Marvel was horrible about that for the longest time. They were killing off every villain in every movie.
Well, I believe it was Dr. No, the first James Bond movie, where there was a character named Coral, and he was a fisherman down in Jamaica, and he gets killed off in the first movie, and then they need to go back to that location, and they need another boat, so they have Coral Jr. I'm like, come on, Hollywood, just stop killing people off, and then we won't have this problem.
You won't have this, yeah. Think does the character death do anything for the story? Now, here's the thing with Maul. If it had just been the bad guy of the first movie and they had never done anything with him, he would have been remembered as a cool-looking villain that had a dope fighting style,
right? And
came, saw, died, move on.
And it would have been pretty much forgotten.
Yeah. He would have been remembered as this, like, cool concept character that they didn't really do anything with. But because they brought him back in Clone Wars and did it so well, now you gotta look on Phantom Menace and, like, wow, they did not use him to his, like, full potential.
Well, so the more we talk about situations like this, the more I realize that just basically comes down to George Lucas had a story to tell, and Maul wasn't part of it. He was a vehicle to use in the middle of getting to the story that he wanted to tell. And so you have Dave Filoni, and you have world building taking place, and the Star Wars universe expanding, and then he pulls this back. I'll be totally honest with you. When I heard Maul survived, and it might have been you who told me.
I'm pretty sure I'm the one who told you.
And I believe my reaction was something along the lines of utter contempt and disgust, because the dude was freaking cut in half,
Yep.
and you don't see anybody going and saving him the way you see, Sidious going and
save Vader.
Save Anakin. And so I thought, how are they going to do this? But of course, it's Hollywood. You can write around anything. Then you told me he had spider legs.
Yeah.
and then I remember my reaction was something along the lines of, "Oh, you gotta be kidding! How stupid is this?" And I will say this, I went back here just this past week and I rewatched all of the episodes that Maul had an appearance in, and I was watching that one, and like, okay, I can see giving him a lower half that's got 8 legs. But the spider butt? The mechanical spider. I was supposed to get online and I was supposed to find out all of the parts of the spider's body so that I could do correct anatomical description. But why did he need a mechanical spider butt? I mean, I just so I'm actually quite happy that they got rid of that as quickly as they did, because if he had spit out a web, I would have screamed. So while you're recovering, I will say this: I have not read any of the novels. I have not looked at any of the video games. So any comments that I can make about the character of Maul are based solely on the Phantom Menace, and then anything that happened in Clone Wars and Rebels.
Okay.
Right, and I will say that Instagram reels about Star Wars with the content creators who are out there have shared little snippets of what in the novel, what are in the novels, and some of it's really interesting character development wise. But I love Maul. I love Maul, and it's a combination of the writing, and it's a combination of that and the voice actor. Sam, is it Whitmer?
Whitmer, yeah.
Whitmer.
Who is also a huge Star Wars nerd, and apparently has just like apparently corrected Dave Filoni in several times.
I'm not surprised. I tell you what, I could watch videos of him performing in studio all day long. It's just a delight to watch.
Really good, and it's the perfect. It's the most awkward thing to watch, because Ray Park in Phantom Menace gives off a great physical performance as Maul. Like he is a trained stuntman who had the physicality and the skills and the facial structure to play Maul.
And the gymnastic ability and the bow staff training that allowed him to take a double-bladed lightsaber and just make it
look amazing. Yes. But his voice was not what Lucas wanted for Maul, so you get that really awkward dub in halfway through the Phantom Menace, which is all he says in that entire movie. And then you get Sam Whitmer taking up the role of Maul, voice acting, which he has done ever since. Even when Ray Park came back for Solo, there's a hologram in like an end credit scene at the very end of the movie, and it's Maul at the head of his crime syndicate.
Gotcha.
And Ray Park is in full Maul and like old Maul makeup, and he's got the lightsaber, and it's dubbed by Sam Whitmer.
Gotcha.
Which is just the cool. It's kind of a callback, but it's much better done than it was in Phantom Menace.
I believe it. The thing that I enjoyed going back and rewatching all of this was watching, what I call the awakening of Maul, but it because he's lost his mind, he's gone insane.
Yeah.
Living for years as a spider and eating things that just looked quite unpleasant. But he was an animal in the first movie, and that's if I had to describe him, he's just an animal.
Yeah.
And he was a blunt force trauma, delivery.
He was a weapon.
Yeah, he was.
Literally was just a weapon.
And you know nothing about him. You know nothing about where he came from. You know nothing about, and you didn't need to ultimately. Yeah. He was just someone to get through. But then you have this beautiful setup of a creature who comes to life and then is driven solely by revenge.
Yes.
Absolutely driven by revenge.
And hatred and anger.
Yes. And almost talks his way back to sanity. That's one of the things that I found very interesting is you just get he's just pouring all of these thoughts out. Now, what was the Chief Witch's name?
Mother Talzin.
Mother Talzin.
Yep.
She puts him out, She gives him the legs. I had a thought.
Those legs were cooler. I liked the second iteration of the legs.
I liked the third iteration of the legs.
Yeah,
I liked
normal.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah, the second iteration of the legs were good, but I remember when they were being put on him, thinking to myself, this is being done by magic.
Uh-huh.
What happens if those legs get injured? And I had forgotten, and then it was answered, because when his legs do get cut off, all of that green magic stuff comes leaking out of them, which I found a great touch.
Yeah.
There's not a lot for me to really explore in terms of the development of his character, because I think that it's the performance that really makes it. Yeah, that for me that really gives it to me. But I'm intrigued by his appearances in Rebels, because he's like giving lip service to the idea of making Ezra Bridger his apprentice.
Yeah.
But he never really does put the full court press on to do it.
Yeah.
Ezra is only someone to be used and manipulated.
Oh, here's the thing that I find so interesting about Maul is that he is the anatomy of like failure. Maul kind of fails at everything he does. And a lot of it is not necessarily through any fault of his own, except in one area. Pride and anger being that pretty much driving force. Ego, anger being the main reasons for his downfall on his end. But he's such an interesting character, because he's intelligent, and he's cunning, and he's a schemer. I'm bringing that back to you. Check that video. He's manipulative. He's really good at manipulating people, and a lot of people.
Yes.
Like everywhere he goes, he's just really good at it. But he always lets his anger and his pride get the best of him in most situations, which is so interesting, because the way he teaches Savage, you would believe that he would have been a Sith master the way he's trying to teach Savage about the ways of the Sith. But he's not, and he's nowhere near as powerful as Sidious. And that obviously gets proven in a fantastic fight scene I think that's season 5, 4,
5 or 6,
4 or 5.
Yeah.
He so, and when he's manipulating Ezra, I mean, yeah, you're right. It's all lip service. I don't think he had any intention of it. I think he just planned on, manipulating Ezra to his will. And hey, if Ezra falls to the dark side and is looking for a master anyway, he might come back,
right,
and find him, and then he'll have another pawn to manipulate. Like,
what? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, he's just
watching these episodes brought other things to mind that were less Maul focused, but really did, were brought about by Maul's character development and his actions.
Okay.
I've come to the conclusion that the Jedi Academy is largely just a waste of time.
Okay.
And the reason why it's a waste of time is because Savage is around for a season.
Yeah, season and a half, 2,
right.
Something like that.
You don't get a timeline in terms of how much time has passed from the start of his training to where he eventually dies. But it's not that long, and it's certainly not 20 years. It's not someone being taken at age 3 and trained as a Jedi through their Padawan period until they become a master in late teens, early 20s, something like that. So
not even that, they become a knight,
right,
and
so,
then a master.
So he becomes a formidable force, right? And then you have Rey, who becomes a formidable force.
Stop.
You have
Stop. You should not have done that.
You have Luke,
Just don't.
who runs
That's better.
runs through the jungle with
better.
with a backpack on.
That's better.
All right, and becomes a formidable force. I knew I was going to get you with that one, but you get these characters that pop up that are just like so strong in the force, or
I would say Ezra. Probably.
Yeah, Ezra the same way. He doesn't have that much time, but he doesn't become the powerhouse of the other ones. And I'm beginning to think that that maybe not.
Yeah, not a good idea.
Well, with the exception of the fact that Sidious, who has a lifetime of training, cuts through Maul and Savage like they're nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
And a bunch of Jedi Masters and
so I'm beginning to think you don't really need the Jedi Academy. You just
you need good teachers. It does highlight the failures that you've got this brand new Sith assassin on the block that just is mowing down Jedi everywhere he goes.
Yeah, and coming out of nowhere and doing it.
Yeah.
Right. Now, the probably the most entertaining part of Maul's appearance on screen, I think, was when he was on Mandalore and he was talking to Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
And he's walking around Ahsoka. Now, Ahsoka's a formidable.
Ahsoka is a top tier combatant.
But she's had how many years of experience and how much training?
She was trained directly by Anakin.
Right. And as we see in the supplemental features, that episode where she learns how to not fight against drones but against clones.
Yeah.
That's just incredible development. But he's walking around her with his hands behind his back, just thinking out loud, almost monologuing.
Yep.
Really not so much concerned about her. She's standing there with two lightsabers open, ready to go. And he's just, it could be, and then maybe it could be. Well, and he's walking around. How many trips around her did he make? 4, 5,
something like
6,
that,
right?
yeah.
Until finally it was like a quick exchange, and then he's like, "Yeah, I don't have time for you. I have other things to do," and he takes off running.
Yeah.
And
if you're not going to help me, then I have no purpose in being here.
Well,
enjoy taking back the planet. I'm prioritizing my escape.
Well, yes, but it shows not arrogance on his part, because I tried to decide, is he arrogant or is
I think that was the one time that he was not letting his pride get the best of him in that
was just supreme confidence in his experience.
Yes.
And his ability to take her out if he truly wanted to.
Yeah, and that's that's where I have the question is, in that state, could he have, if he really wanted to, have beaten Ahsoka? And I don't think he cared to beat Ahsoka. So I think that gave her an edge. If he realized that he didn't get Anakin or Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka wasn't going to help him, because that was his goal, is to get Anakin or Obi-Wan in.
Ahsoka's line, when he says, I expected Obi-Wan, she said he had another assignment. He had something better to do than deal with you. Man! What an ego shot.
You have Kenobi's arrogance.
It was a beautiful exchange.
It was
a wonderful moment.
It was wonderful. But yeah, no. But here's the thing. Ahsoka gets that fight in with Maul, and she ultimately wins, and she ultimately saves him, and he's sensing what's going on in the galaxy. He knows what's coming because he knows what to look for. He's this loose cannon just out in the galaxy. Mm-hmm. He's fully aware of Sidious's plans. He's piecing it together. Mm-hmm. He's intelligent. He's highly intelligent because he sees it coming before anyone else does. He's got it figured out.
Right.
Because Sidious didn't tell him what the plan was in Phantom Menace, obviously, because he's trying to piece it together. He's like, it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Yes.
And then he senses it coming. And what happens in the next episode? Order 66 happens. Well, he knows what's going on. And then you get that great scene in the bridge where he's mowing down clones. with nothing but the Force.
I absolutely love how Ahsoka had no problems with cutting him loose to do what he does best, which is create chaos.
And on, is it Malachor? I'm pretty sure it's Malachor. In Rebels, when they run into him the first time, she knows what he's about.
Oh, yeah.
She's been through this with him.
Yep.
And he's still running circles around them with the Sith Temple. He knows exactly what to do. And I'm sure, for Ahsoka's credit, because I love Ahsoka, she had the confidence that she could beat him again, if need be. Because she was older, more powerful.
I hadn't given that any thought, but
I think she
probably did.
She was like going along with everything.
Right.
And, he's stepping in and he takes out a couple Inquisitors. Like, I remember seeing, like, she's fighting one of them. She kicks it away, the Inquisitor. Right. And he just runs in and kills it. And Ahsoka's there on guard and she's not phased. She has no problem with it.
Right.
But, yeah, Maul is so good around other characters. He just... it makes you think about so much.
Watching her development is a mirror reflection of her interactions with Maul is kind of an interesting way of tracking her growth.
There's a reason they were paired up in Season 7 for that fight, because they're both fallen apprentices, but one of them's in the good and is obvious.
Well, yeah, she's not so much a fallen apprentice, but she is very definitely.
Yeah, she's Yeah,
I get it. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, they're mirrors of each other, which is fantastic.
Part of the limitations of what they could do with the character was because movies 4, 5, and 6 came out, 40 years ago, and however long ago it was, and he wasn't a factor. In beyond movie 1. Mm-hmm. Filoni's ability to create this character, work him in, make him interesting,
make him a threat,
make him a pivotal part of the series, and fit him in and make this whole thing. It's phenomenal writing and character development. I think his death, and I found this just a little bit odd.
Is awesome though.
It's an awesome fight.
It's amazing because it kind of completes Obi-Wan. Like we've talked about in our Obi-Wan Kenobi episode how Obi-Wan kind of feels like a complete character. Well, you gotta get that, especially now that Maul. Like we've seen literally everything about Kenobi. At this point, we've seen his beginnings, his middle, his time as a general, his time with Anakin, the relationship they had, the fallout, and then you see him recovering from failure. Yep. And then you see, obviously without Rebels, you would jump straight to the original trilogy, and you see him, sacrifice for Luke and ensure that Luke's on the right path. Right. But then you also get this finale to him and Maul, because Maul is this entire time he's like, I'm making all these plans, but Kenobi.
Well, the
he's like, I'm organizing all the cartels, like the mob, the mafia, like all the syndicates, all into this massive crime empire, but Kenobi.
His death scene, I realized Rebels is a kids show so that they couldn't see what that strike does, but from the camera angle that they used, all you can see is that Kenobi cuts his lightsaber in half.
And you have to assume it goes down his chest and slices into it.
And then he's laying in Kenobi's arms, and he's completely undamaged. You don't see, you can't show him split in half, which is probably what would have happened.
Yeah.
But also, if he was split in half, you wouldn't have had that final exchange between the two of them, because Kenobi is almost tender, almost compassionate.
No, he was. He was being compassionate.
And
he lets him know that there's hope.
Well, so
and in Maul's own twisted way, he gets hope at the end.
Well, Maul wanted to know is Maul's still thinking.
Yes.
Still figuring it
Still
out, right?
piecing everything together.
And it's fine. And then when he finally pieces it together, what didn't he ask? Is he the chosen one?
Well, he's like, what are you, like, before the fight, he's like, what are you doing? And he's like doing the same thing where he's talking it out and he's thinking out loud. And again, he's so intelligent. He figures it out by Obi-Wan's facial expressions, his body posture, everything. He's like, what would you be doing? Are you protecting something? No. Protecting someone.
So this begs the question. How could movies 1, 2, and 3, specifically 2 and 3, been better if this Maul had been allowed to survive movie 1 and become a pivotal character in 2 and 3? Because you know who they replaced him with?
Dooku and Grievous. Yeah.
They replaced him with Grievous.
Yeah.
I just realized this. I just realized this. They had all of this.
Someone said that there was a theory. I don't remember where I saw this, but there was a theory that all 3 of the bad guys in 1, 2, and 3. So you got Maul, Dooku, Grievous are all supposed to be representations of Anakin as Darth Vader. Yeah. And I'm not sure how that was supposed to work out. If someone knows the details of that, if you could put that in the comments, I would appreciate that.
I've never heard that before.
Specifically, someone was linking the fact that Dooku was a fallen Jedi and Grievous was a cyborg, but I don't remember how Maul played into that. I don't remember.
Well, yeah, Maul surviving movie number 1 and continuing, and that could have been some just absolute, wonderful filmmaking.
Yeah.
But
definitely some spectacular fights. But
and I just find Maul to be a delightful character.
Yeah, he's absolutely fantastic.
And it's for me, it's a combination of the writing and the performance. Everything comes down to good writing. Everything comes down to good writing. You either have good writing or you don't. The lack of writing and character development put into that character in movie number 1 is why you get a grunting animal.
Yep. Spectacular fight scene. Probably my favorite in the whole series is the end sequence with Obi-Wan versus Maul. Probably my favorite. And that soundtrack. Duel of the Fates. Duel of the Fates is so good.
You like that?
It's so good.
All right.
But yeah, Maul.
So what do you think?
Intelligent.
What do you think about Darth Maul? I think he's one of the best characters that they put in Clone Wars and Rebels.
I think they did a fantastic job bringing this character back, because I had the same reaction you did when I first saw Maul back in Clone Wars, watching it over the shoulder of someone at a friend's house.
Gotcha.
And I was like, what the heck? Why would you do this? And then I eventually sat down and watched it, and I was like, never mind. This was amazing. This was the best decision you could have made.
My only complaint is the anatomical features. But
the anatomical accuracy of the spider legs. What did you think of Darth Maul? Let us know in the comments down below, and hit that subscribe button for more. Tell us what characters you'd like to see discussed next.
Thanks for tuning in to Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches.
And we'll see you next time.
If I could have turned the camera on you, I would have. Yes.